And I think I'm in the same boat as you, and that's why I was very interested in calling you today, is because I'm not believing the official narrative. I had a call with Dave Smith yesterday, and he said, I think he slowed down his rhetoric a little bit. I'm not sure if he went back and forth with you, but it was with Ian Carroll. Basically, I think at first he was calling people a crazy conspiracy kook if they didn't believe the official narrative. And during that call, it seemed like he was starting to see, because my point of view, I'm not sure what yours is. My point of view is that it's very likely, if we're going to find one nation who's capable of assassinating foreign officials and get into other countries' affairs, I think we know what country that is. So I'm wondering why you're not believing the official narrative.
Well, let's just go from the narrative itself. Let's just go from what we're getting from the government first. To me, it doesn't add up because there's too many missing links. Like, we know that there were probably, I mean, let's be conservative, 20 people filming that, maybe 50 cameras rolling when this thing happened. I mean, so the fact that we're getting a lot of weird, grainy footage is very strange. The campus, the Utah Valley campus, had just updated their security cameras, apparently. So that whole campus was basically security camera in the zone. There's probably very few spots on that campus, at least outside, I would say, where you didn't have at least one or two cameras on you. And somehow we get one weird angle of him coming off the roof. Well, where did he go? Where's the video footage of him going on the roof? Where's the video footage of him in different clothes? So obviously video footage is being hidden from the public. I don't think that's even a conspiracy theory. I think you can say that with pretty much complete confidence. What about the camera that was behind Charlie, which was an HD camera, I believe, that his team was using for an HD shot from behind that I'm sure they use like a panoramic view every time they do it? What about that camera? You think that camera would be pretty important, considering that would be the one in HD that would capture the actual shooter on the roof taking the shot. We haven't seen that. And then there's the whole weirdness about the gun being found in the woods. And I don't claim to be some expert when it comes to shooting. I go shooting for fun. That's it. I'm not some expert. I'm not going to pretend to be. But I talk to people that shoot and they're experts, and I talk to veterans that know their stuff, and they have questions that make sense to me. Like, well, where's the entry wound? Where's the exit wound? Where's the blood splattering from an exit wound? If it was the caliber of bullet that the official story claims it is, then there should have been probably a bigger hit than we saw there. And then I think too, just from watching it, it's kind of instinctual. Like, man, that looks like a professional hit, and that just looks like a professional shot. And from what we know, it doesn't sound like this guy was some master marksman. Now, again, some people say, oh, anybody can make that shot, and others say, no, that's a tough shot. Well, I say, here's a guy who took one shot and hit. That's what I saw, and it hit right where you would be a fatal shot. And I even maybe go farther. Now, this would be a little conspiratorial, but I would even go a little farther to say that maybe somebody wanted it to be right there, so it would sit there and spew blood like that. Now, that's a little conspiratorial. But again, I watched that, and it just screams professional hit. Now, okay, they're claiming this is some, I guess, left wing, I don't know, some guy that just decided he wanted to do this. Maybe he was involved in some of these new groups that we see coming up online that are kind of left wing LGBTQ types of peoples that I guess feel left out of the world, and so they're all kind of just stewing in their own little online zones. That's kind of where they want us to go. Now, I find it strange that just 2 weeks ago, the very same FBI that is telling you that this shooter was tied into the trans community, the very same FBI just 2 weeks ago at the school shooting was trying to cover up that it was a trans community individual. They tried to cover it up. Now they want us now they want to go with that as the official narrative. So again, I'm kind of looking at all these patterns, and I'm just saying it just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. The official narrative doesn't add up. And for an event this big, I also think it's hard. And again, I don't know if this is something that is legitimately coming from your subconscious, or it's just because the world is so crazy you can't take anything at face value. I kind of struggle with these things sometimes, but you just think, Charlie Kirk, that's a big name. This is a guy who would be eligible to run for president in the next election. This is a guy who's really, you could argue, the most impactful on college campuses when it comes to conservative politics. So it's not a minor figure that some guy might just have a beef with. He did have private security. He knew that his life was in danger. It appears now from some of the clips that we've seen gone viral and some of the conversations he was having behind the scenes. So I think that all of those things combined just tells me, no, I don't buy the official narrative at all. I don't buy the official story at all. Now, I'm not saying that there might be real stuff in it. There might be some real stuff that they have, but it's not enough to convince me of the official narrative. And so then, as far as the other angle that everybody talks about, the number one angle is the Israel angle. I look at it like this. Originally, that wouldn't have even have come to my mind. I mean, originally, that wasn't even a thought in my mind. I was like, this is the same left-wing terror that we've seen from the same people that we've seen. It's the same pattern, really, that's been going on for years. You can go back to when James Hodgkinson tried to shoot up, do a mass murder at a Republican baseball practice. The mainstream media buried that story. So this has been going on for a long time. So it didn't even come to my head. And then what do we see online? We see all the same pro-Israel voices. We see all the same voices that are Israel loyalists. And it's Israel didn't do it. Israel didn't do it. And it's Netanyahu coming out. So it's like, if I'm sitting in a crime scene and I've got somebody running around, I didn't do it. 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 And everyone's like, oh. So eventually I'm going to say, hey, come on, come over here for a second. Why don't you just sit down? Why don't you just have a seat? So that's what it's looked like to me. Again, it was not even a thought in my head when this thing happened, but then it's like the constant defense. And so then you get a little curious and you find out, okay, well, Netanyahu reported it first. The Jerusalem Post reported it first. You hear about this meeting that Charlie Kirk had with, I guess, some big Israel donors that kind of went a little sideways. You saw kind of Charlie even himself start to look at the whole Israel situation a little differently. And I think that's because he's a good person. And, eventually what's going on in the Gaza Strip, you just have to, you can't support it. I'm of the mindset of I don't want anything to do with any of it. Okay. These people have been killing each other for thousands of years. I'm like, I want nothing to do with any of it. Don't put a flag on me. Okay. Don't put a name on me. Don't put a slogan on me. I'm an American. I have nothing to do with this crap. I want nothing to do with any of it. Yep. And so that's where I come from. But you see all of this developing and it's like, okay, well, gee. And then what do we remember? We remember Netanyahu bragging about the pagers. We remember Mossad bragging about how they can get hundreds of intelligent agents and assets penetrating top-level governments and intelligence agencies. They're basically bragging about how they can do whatever the hell they want. So then it's like all of this circumstantial evidence starts building, and all of a sudden, okay, here we are talking about Israel again. So, if I'm a gambling man, I don't even know what I would bet on at this point. I would probably bet that it was a left-wing terror attack. If I had to place a bet, I'd say the odds are on that. I'd say it's close, but I'd still say the odds are on that.